God bless you. You will be listening to Pastor Mike. I pray that my words help you to move closer to our God. Sit back and allow this message touch your heart. This message is based on Luke 19:45 to 46, a brief but powerful passage that tells us Jesus entered the temple in Jerusalem shortly before his arrest and overturned the tables of the money changers. At first glance, this may seem like a simple story of anger and confrontation. However, it invites us to ask more profound questions. Why was Jesus so upset? What was the purpose of the money changers and vendors in the temple? There are several lessons we can draw from these two verses. Before exploring them, it is important to understand why money changers were present in the temple in the first place. Many Christians are unfamiliar with the culture and customs of Jesus' day and may not realize that these vendors served a necessary function. The primary reason for money exchange was that worshippers were not permitted to use Roman currency when giving their offerings or tithes. Why not? Roman coins bore the image of the reigning emperor, and the Roman government often promoted the idea that the emperor was divine. Using such coins in a temple would have conflicted with the first commandment, which forbids having other gods before the Lord. Moreover, portraying a human being as divine could be considered violating the commandment against idolatry. For this reason, there needed to be a way to exchange Roman currency for temple currency. The temple maintained its own accepted form of money, and people throughout Judea and Galilee understood its use. The ancient world was far more complex than many of us realize. The sale of animals was also necessary. Pilgrims traveled to Jerusalem from many regions of the Roman Empire to offer sacrifices to God. Transporting animals over long distances was frequently difficult and impractical. As a result, worshippers needed the ability to purchase sacrificial animals upon arriving at the temple. Naturally, the temple authorities benefited financially from these transactions. Jesus' issue was not with the existence of money changers or animal sellers. The problem was that many were exploiting the people. Jews visiting from distant regions often did not know the proper exchange rates between Roman and temple currency, making it easy for dishonest money changers to take advantage of them. This is why Jesus referred to the temple as a den of robbers. The robbery was not merely theft in the traditional sense. It was the exploitation of sincere worshippers who had come seeking God. This passage speaks powerfully to our lives today. The buying and selling of animals and the exchanging of money could have been conducted outside the temple courts. While those activities were necessary, conducting them within God's house distracted from the temple's true purpose: worship, prayer, and communion with God. This story always reminds me of an experience shared by my candidacy and ordination mentor, Brad. While it is not a perfect parallel, it conveys a similar lesson. Brad was appointed to a church in the York, Pennsylvania area. In the United Methodist Church, appointments begin on July 1st, so he settled into his new ministry, and everything seemed to be going well. Then, during the first weekend of November, a church member entered his office and informed him that he was expected to report to the church kitchen at 5 a.m. the next morning. "Why?" Brad asked. The parishioner looked surprised and replied, "To cook the chili for the bazaar." Without hesitation, Brad answered, "No." He explained that cooking chili for a church bazaar, while perhaps enjoyable and traditional, did not directly contribute to the mission of making disciples of Jesus Christ. Therefore, he could not justify making it a priority. The church had held the bazaar for decades, and many of its leaders struggled to understand why Brad would not participate in preparing the chili. The deeper question Brad raised was this: what is the church doing that directly helps make disciples of Jesus Christ? And equally important, why are we doing the things we do? Those are questions every faith community should ask. Everything a church does should point people toward a closer relationship with God. Every ministry, every event, every gathering, and every program should seek to help individuals grow in faith and deepen their walk with Christ. Furthermore, Churches should continually investigate how to teach, encourage, and inspire those who do not yet know Christ, helping them discover the life changing power of discipleship. Take a careful look at your faith community's calendar. What do you see? Sunday worship and Bible study should certainly be central, but what happens during the rest of the week? Are there opportunities that strengthen faith, encourage spiritual growth, and foster meaningful relationships with God? Are there intentional efforts to share the gospel and reach those who are searching for hope? If not, perhaps God is calling you to be part of the solution. Instead of waiting for someone else to act, consider speaking with your church leaders and offering your time, talents, and passion to help create new opportunities for spiritual growth and outreach. The cleansing of the temple reminds us that God's work must never become overshadowed by human routines, traditions, or financial interests. Christ calls his followers to keep the main thing, worshiping God, growing in faith, and helping others discover the transforming love of Jesus Christ. When we align our priorities with his purpose, our churches become more than buildings. They become places where lives are changed, hearts are renewed, and God's kingdom is made visible in the world. Thank you for listening to my message, which was inspired by the Holy Spirit, so that you can discover a way to interact with God